bunch of my videos lately have focused on the negative, the mistakes I've made with my van, like pouring cement down the drain last week, destroying my suspension earlier this year. What else? Draining my battery, destroying my DC to DC charger a few days ago. Yeah, it sounds really bad. I don't want to give you guys the wrong impression. This video, I want to focus on the positive. It's called 5 Ways Living in a Van Has Made Me a Better Person. It's a beautiful summer evening. I just got out of the gym. I'm gonna finish this coffee and then we'll get to a grocery store. I need to get some supplies. Market 32, a little pricey, but it'll have to do for tonight. The number 5 way living in a van has made me a better person. It has made me manage my time so much better. A house just sits idle, and so do you. When you live in one, you know, when I lived in my apartment, I had no fear. I could just leave the apartment for days at a time, waste my time, maybe take off on a vacation. It was always back there waiting for me. The van imposes a schedule upon you when you live in the thing, when it's your house. There's always a reason to get back to it by a certain time. A meter could be expiring. You may have to take it to a service appointment. You have to get yourself to an appointment. You know, you can't just park a van somewhere and just leave it there and forget about it for days at a time. You're always conscientious about it. I know for me, I accomplished so much more with my days since I've moved into a van. I think I was just more idle before. I can make a task last all week, you know. It just kind of fills up the time allowed. Now I try to make the most out of every day. This might also be because I have a YouTube channel and I have a timetable that I imposed upon myself for that. That's why I'm putting this down at the number 5 most thing and working my way up to number 1. Anyway, this right here is a little portable battery that I want to use with this little trawling motor I got from Moby Dick, my origami kayak. So a project I'm gonna do possibly this weekend or maybe sometime next week is rig up a little outboard motor with all these parts I got. Not gonna do that right now. I'm gonna get in that grocery store there, and since they're so pricey, I'll take advantage of that wastebasket outside the door, throw some trash away. I finished up this brown sugar spice stuff from Aldi that I rather liked. It was kind of, I don't know, a little too salty. I'm in the mood for some dill weed. I used to put that stuff on everything. Spring water, it's $2 here, expensive compared to Market Basket, but still better than that 7-Eleven. These splits or split ends, whatever they are, my new favorite pretzel. They don't have the blue shop towels here that I like, but they have this 3-pack of something. Hard to understand what the price is. Is it $2.92? Or wait, $9.49 for a 3-pack? Or is it $7.99? Or $2.46? What the hell is the price? Since when did labels become so complicated? I'm getting the cheap stuff because that label scared the hell out of me. No way am I paying $10 for paper towels. Last but not least, some shaving supplies. Recently lost mine. I swear by these Big Flex 5 they're called, with the orange stripe. Always got the best shave with those things. Number 4 way living in a van has made me a better person is more obvious when I'm buying groceries, putting stuff away. And that is, I buy and drink alcohol way less since I moved into a van. It's just not safe to have open containers of alcohol in here. Even if it's in your trash, you could get in a lot of trouble for that. Also, if you're stealth camping, which I do a lot, it's like almost every night for me, you could get a knock on your window and ask to move in the night. You don't want to be drunk in here. It's just a legal headache that you don't want to have to deal with. I used to have a beer with dinner like pretty much every night before I moved into the van. Now it's once in a blue moon, like maybe once or twice a month when I'm at a dinner with friends or out at a concert or something. You know, never in here. I've actually talked to other van dwellers and gone on their van dwelling community on Reddit, and this seems to be a recurring theme. You consume alcohol a lot less when you're living in a van, and that's a good thing because, let's face it, alcohol isn't great for your body. I went like 8 months last year and didn't have alcohol at all, and I felt great the entire time. I have made my peace with it. Like I said, I enjoy a beverage from time to time for like a good reason, but in general, I like not drinking as much as I used to. I thank the van life for that. Beautiful sunset tonight, mostly in my rear view mirror. I'm driving west right now, just a few towns over. I want to get one last little hike in at the ruins of an old mill up here before the sun sets. Yeah, this is closely related to my number 3 way that living in a van has made me a better person. I'll tell you when I get there. The kiosk here is terrible. Doesn't tell you anything about the history of this place. But here was a wool mill built in the 1820s. This whole town called Hinsdale was clear cut, and it was just sheep roaming around everywhere. And this textile mill actually lasted for, I think, 150 years. Over 100 years until the Great Depression, when it closed down. Now there's just bits of ruins of it over the Housatonic River here. They put down this beautiful little trail. You can kind of walk around. It's cozy. This was only built like 20 years ago, I think. This wasn't here when I was a kid. It was all just kind of ruins in the woods. This old mill trail is a great example of my number 3 way living in a van has made me a better person. I travel more. I see more. It's good for the soul to constantly be exposed to new environments, do and see new things. Make no mistake, traveling is awesome. I kind of have to when I live in a van because you don't want to sleep in the same spot every night if you're going to live in a vehicle. You have to move around. As the years have gone by, I developed a pretty wide portfolio of places I can sleep. I rotate through them. And when I say travel more, I'm not just talking about grand road trips. I'm talking about even in my own state. I've seen so many little town parks, state parks and stuff. I always stop and explore. When I lived in Boston for 20 years, for 14 of those years, I lived in the same neighborhood. I did the same evening walk every night, the same hike every weekend, saw the same thing because I always came back to the same place. Let me tell you, the amount of memories I've had from the last couple years living in the van eclipse the amount of memories I have from those years in Boston in that apartment. It's all just like a blur, I think traveling is so good for the soul. It's something you need to do. Get out of your comfort zone, be exposed to new stimuli, and van life just kind of forces you to do that. Anyway, the sun did just set. It's going to get dark, so I'm going to get to my sleeping spot for the night and tell you guys the final 2 things. Tonight, I'll be staying at a friend's driveway. I'm so grateful. I've received so many generous offers from locals in the places I visit and from viewers, commenters like you, who have offered me places to sleep, places to get water, places to go get electricity. I'm taking a few of you up on those offers. I'm so thankful for that. I'm not really including that as part of tonight's list because I think a lot of that is the YouTube thing. I'm very aware that not everyone who's going to live in a vehicle is going to start a YouTube channel or even wants to. I don't blame you for that. The publicity of YouTube can be a headache in and of itself, so I'm spinning the whole YouTube benefits thing off for another video. My number 2 and number 1 are specifically related to living in a van. Anyway, beautiful evening. The moon is at exactly 50%. Yeah, nice to be somewhere where there isn't like nighttime traffic, on a street or something. So my number 2 way living in a van has made me a better person, and this one should be obvious for everyone. I'm in a much better financial position now than I've ever been. My old 1-bedroom apartment in Alston now rents for, last I checked, $2,700 a month. I can't imagine paying that. even with all my sometimes wasteful spending on toys, on stuff that I break, on convenience store groceries, my monthly expenses are still on average about a quarter of what they were when I was living in an apartment. I live in here. My rent is gas and car insurance and, the occasional service appointment. This is still way cheaper. I think anyone who's considering moving into a van is probably doing it for financial reasons. They're sick of renting, they want their own space, and this is a solution. Make no mistake. If you're living in a vehicle and you're not saving any money, or your expenses are still the same as they were from when you were living in an apartment, you're doing something very, very wrong. So I think it goes without saying that's my number 2. Financial, health seems important, which begs the question, why is that not my number 1 reason this has made me a better person? My number 1 reason is that living in a van has given me so much more confidence. I now feel like I can get myself out of almost any situation that's been thrown at me. Back when I was just in my old routines in the apartment life in Boston, doing the same thing every day, never stepping out of my comfort zone, I would go to pieces when something out of the ordinary happened in my life, like losing my wallet or my phone. I didn't know what to do. A fire in the apartment, it just ruined me. Now I can just walk things off. If I break down in the road, I probably can fix it myself. You'd be amazed what I'm able to do with this van now in terms of mechanics. But even if I couldn't, I know who to call. I know how to get help. I don't worry. I've had stuff, problems with paperwork, government stuff, car insurance stuff. Nothing phases me anymore. I have so much more confidence that this lifestyle has bestowed upon me. I'll put it like this. This is a story I've related before in an earlier video. I don't know what. When I was a kid, I was watching this episode of Little House on the Prairie. In this episode, some teenage boy hurt Michael Landon's daughter's feelings at school, embarrassed her somehow. So this boy came up to Michael Landon in the evening and said, "Sir, I'm so sorry I hurt your daughter's feelings. I don't know what to do. How do I apologize? How do I ever say anything to make this better?" And Michael Landon said, "Son, just put yourself before her and the words will come." And it's really as simple as that. Get yourself into a sticky situation. Don't fear. You will figure it out. And you will become a stronger person on the other way out. I've gotten myself into so many sticky situations, and I'm just a much more confident, healthier person mentally in general. That is by far the number 1 thing that this lifestyle has bestowed upon me. So yeah, I wanted to do a positive video because I've been doing so many problem videos, all the problems I encounter. There's a lot of that, but I guess I don't focus on the positive enough. So thanks for watching. I think in my next adventure, I'll be going on an e-bike ride around town somewhere. So stick around for that. My name is Matt. I live in my van. So yeah, peace out.